In the security competition between the United States and China, I don't believe in win-win, is that cooperation takes place under the shadow of an intense security competition. Cooperation can take place, but again, cooperation is always subordinated to competition.
Military superiority might lead to some short-term winning, but what accounts for long-term winning, like what's happening in the Middle East right now? Israel is winning wars in the Middle East, but it also mires in the situation because it will lead to prolonged conflicts. So what accounts for real winning?
I think that it is in China's interest to grow more and more powerful. And I think the way to do that is to grow economically. It's to develop sophisticated technologies. It's to become the #1 country in the world in terms of producing cutting-edge technologies and to have the biggest economy on the planet. That's what China should do. And I agree with what you're saying that it is not in China's interest to get into the business of fighting wars, especially against the United States. It's in China's interest to become more powerful. And again, the best way to do that is to grow economically. So I basically agree with what you're saying.
But it's also worse for the US, right?
Absolutely. The two building blocks of military power, what really matter, are #1, population size, and #2, wealth. You want to have a lot of people, and you want to have a wealthy country. You want to be really rich.
So do you believe in win-win? Because Chinese people like to talk about win-win.
No. In the security competition between the United States and China, I don't believe in win-win. I think it's a zero-sum game. And people didn't want that, and I understand. But my argument is that it's inevitable because of the structure of the international system. You want to do everything you can to keep a cap on nationalism, anti-Americanism in China. And I think in the American case, the same thing is true. The rhetoric does not get too hot. American nationalism and anti-China rhetoric doesn't become too powerful. It's very hard to prevent that, though.
There have been some cases in the history where the rising power don't end up with a conflict with dominant power. Maybe we can look at the history and find some wisdoms from history to.
Well, you find those cases, and the next time I come back, you can interview me, and we'll talk about them. Okay?
Western mainstream media love to talk about rights, especially human rights. But isn't the right to development also right? These Western oligarchs operate on a zero-sum mindset. They want to take as much as possible, and it's best if everyone else just dies. Chinese thinking is different. We believe in win-win outcomes. Only win-win can be sustainable. Only those with no intelligence would engage in one-time deals. As a Chinese, I genuinely hope the US remains strong and doesn't collapse. Not because I love America so much, but because we believe in the China's ancient sage Mencius once said over 2,400 years ago, when a state is without internal challenges from the wise counselors or external threats from rival nations, it will often perish. Thus, we understand that survival comes from hardship, while complacency leads to ruin. China needs a strong rival, and America should also need China. A world with only one superpower is extremely dangerous for all humanity, just like a city with only one supermarket that monopolizes the entire market and hires thugs to kill all competitors. That supermarket can then raise prices at will, and forcing all citizens to pay up. Anyone who dares protest will be beaten to death. Nobody will enjoy this situation in the end. No one should dominate alone. A fully competitive market is most beneficial to consumers, and a fully competitive international stage is most beneficial to all the people of the world, including those of China and the US. Follow me to explore more.